This is where it all starts. These were the first people on the scene.
Hey, beautiful people. Today I am going to take you on a trip with me through this police report for Daniel Robinson. Buckeye, they dropped the ball somewhere. We know they did. It is what it is. And now we have a father, David Robinson, who's out there, who's really on the ground, trying to find his son with very little help from the police department. So this record here, this is our record of what they commit to have done. So to me, in trying to see where the ball was dropped, this is a very important place to start. I'd appreciate it if you would entertain me and go through this. I know paperwork, police reports, worrying. I'm going to try to keep you intrigued, because if you think about it, and if you listen to what I'm saying to you, police reports tell a story. And this is Daniel's story. But remember, there are certainly three sides to every story. Daniel's been missing since the 23rd of June, gone without a trace. Met someone at a job site, had a conversation. Car shows up a month later in a ravine. No blood, no body. And Buckeye says no foul play. So, let's go.
Buckeye Police Department. Police report for incident 210-623-079. Nature, missing person. Address, West Cactus Road and North Sun Valley Parkway, Buckeye, Arizona 85326. Location, D60J. Received by D. Howard. Responding officers, S. Cruz, C. Thatcher, T. Cook. Assigned to L. Biffin. Status C2. Involvements. This would be the names of all individuals that were involved in this investigation. Okay, let's put these involvements in order. First of all, June 23rd, 2021. Daniel Cornelius Robinson, listed as a missing person. June 23rd, 2021. CAD call. Initiating call for a missing person. On the 24th of June, they contacted the Phoenix Police Department, PPD, and Tempe Police Department. There's also someone else that was contacted whose name is completely redacted. Now, unless they're a minor, I don't understand that. Then we have Caitlyn Ann David, who is the complainant or the person who called in the missing person. Davisha Lafayette. Kenneth Willard, another completely redacted name. Luke Joseph was contacted. Matrix New World, Phoenix, Arizona, was contacted and listed as involved in the incident. Also on 6/24, CAD call, follow-up, DRs connected. Another CAD call, follow-up. Property, black body camera vid Axon 3-1 in evidence. Property, black Axon citizen capture upload 1 evidence. On 6/25, there was a CAD call, follow-up, DRs connected. Another CAD call, follow-up, DRs connected. On 6/27, Kevin James was contacted. And on 6/27, there was a CAD call, follow-up, DRs connected. No more activity until 6:30, where there was a CAD call, follow-up, DRs connected. The next activity is in July. On July 4th, CAD call, DRs connected. July 6th, CAD call, DRs connected. 2 calls on the 9th, one for CAD information, and the other 907 follow-up, DRs connected. On the 10th, 907 follow-up, DRs connected. On the 16th, a CAD call, follow-up, DRs connected. On the 19th, law incident, suspicious vehicle, 210-719-018. This is when they found Daniel's vehicle, DRs connected. 7/19, they contacted Tony Joseph. 7/22, evidence, USB crash report, evidence incident. 7/26, swab from driver's seatbelt, swab from rear view mirror, gear shifter, push start button, swab from steering wheel, inside handle driver's side, and Jeep Renegade AZ license NLA 2CMA, all listed as evidence incident on July 26th, 2021. July 28th, CAD call, follow-up, DRs connected. Now we move into August. August 2nd, law incident, deceased person, 210-731-044, mentioned. August 4th, they contacted Paul Devon Jr., Edward Paul, Robert and Jeffrey, and Roger David Jr. First names redacted. All contacted. On August 12th, Roger Allen was mentioned. On August 16th, Stephen Wayne, the Shell manager. They don't say if he's contacted or not. They just say who he is and that date. On August 18th, CAD information, DRs connected. August 19th, follow-up, DRs connected. Those are all of the involvements. Narrative, Officer S. Cruz, number 4493. Date and time, June 23rd, 2021, 7:04 p.m. On June 23rd, 2021, at approximately 7:04 p.m., I was dispatched to a telephonic call for service reference a missing person. I observed the call notes, which showed that the reporting party, David Robinson, lives in South Carolina, and that he had not heard from his son, Daniel Robinson, since this morning when he was at a job site in Buckeye. I called Daniel's cell phone multiple times. The phone rang, but I received no answer. I then called Daniel's work, Matrix New World. I spoke with Georgia at the front desk and let her know about my investigation. Georgia was very concerned and said that she would start calling some supervisors and that they would be calling me. I then spoke with David by telephone. David said that his daughter had been to Daniel's apartment and that Daniel was not there and neither was his vehicle, which was described as a blue Jeep Renegade. David also said they had been receiving information from a co-worker of Daniel's. He advised that Daniel had been to a job site in Buckeye, but that he had left in the morning and had not come back. I then spoke with Kevin Blank, who is a supervisor with the company. He advised that Ken Blank, with the company Weber, was the person that had met with Daniel. I spoke with Ken on the phone. Ken advised that Daniel arrived at the job site around 0900 and that it was raining. Ken said that Daniel was saying things that did not make sense, like asking if Ken wanted to go rest, and then asked if he wanted to go to Phoenix to rest. Ken advised that Daniel was not making sense with the things that he was saying, and that he was talking about things that did not make sense. Ken said that Daniel was there for approximately 15 minutes and that he suddenly left. Ken said that he was concerned because of Daniel's behavior and spoke with Steve, who is the project manager, and let Steve know what had happened. Ken said that he continued working and that he was receiving updates throughout the day from Steve. Ken said that at approximately 1500 hours, 3 p.m., he was made aware that Daniel had not been located and had not responded to texts or calls from work or family. Ken said that he then started to drive in the desert to find Daniel. Ken said that the road to their site runs north and south, and that if you head south, it comes to a T intersection, and that if you turn east, you go to Sun Valley Parkway, where they had come from. Ken said that he could see Daniel's tire marks and that they turned westbound, that the intersection which leads to an extremely large desert area. Ken said that he drove down the road trying to locate Daniel, but he was unable to. I updated David on my findings to that point. I let him know that I was going to circulate the area of the desert to try and find Daniel. I also let him know that Daniel was going to be put in the NCIC as missing person. Myself and Officer Thatcher spent hours trying to locate the vehicle in the area, but were unable to locate Daniel. Daniel was entered into NCIC as missing. On June 24, 2021, at approximately 0100 hours, 1 a.m., I tried calling the phone again, but there was no answer. This report is open until Daniel is located. I have nothing further to report at this time. Supplement by Officer Haley, number 4072. This narrative states, on 6/24/2021, at approximately 0600, upon logging into the Buckeye Police Department record system at the start of my shift, I observed an alert message on my mobile. He messaged me, advised that a subject named Daniel Cornelius is listed as a missing person. The message provided said that Daniel was last seen driving a light blue 2017 Jeep Renegade bearing Arizona license plate blank. The message included the Buckeye PD departmental report number, DR number, which is 210-623-079. After observing the said information, I reviewed the said report, including the call notes. The case officer for the incident was Buckeye PD Officer Cruz. From reviewing this information, I became aware that Buckeye PD received the call for service on June 23, 2021, at approximately 7:04 p.m. by Daniel's father, identified as David Robinson. David had reported to dispatch he has not heard from his son Daniel since 6/22/2021, and that Daniel was supposed to be at his job at the time he, David, was making the report, 6/23/2021. David reported Daniel's employer is Matrix Groundwater, and that Daniel's job site was located at an unknown spot in Buckeye, west of the White Tank Mountains. David reported Daniel had no known medical issues, but had been acting strange. No details were provided into what was strange about Daniel's actions. David reported Daniel drives a light blue 2017 Jeep Renegade. Upon review of the said information, I was aware that upon conclusion of Officer Cruz's investigation, Daniel was not able to be located. Daniel was then entered into the blank as missing. Additionally, I became aware that Daniel was last seen by his co-worker, identified as Kenneth Willard P. Blank, driving away from his, Daniel's, job site. Officer Cruz documented in his report that he spoke to Kenneth and obtained the location of the job site. The job site was located about 1 mile west of North Sun Valley Parkway and about 2,000 feet north of West Cactus Road. Furthermore, upon review of Officer Cruz's report, I became aware that Kenneth reported access to the job site was via a dirt road, which starts on the west side of North Sun Valley Parkway at Cactus Road. From there is a dirt road which continues west for about 1 mile, then splits up into a dirt road that goes north, and a dirt road that continues west. Kenneth advised at the split in the dirt road, you go north for about 2,000 feet, and you will be at the site. Upon review of Officer Cruz's report, I became aware that Kenneth believed Daniel was acting odd at the job site, and that he last saw Daniel drive away from the job site going south. Additionally, Kenneth reported he was not sure if Daniel made it to the said split in the roadway on the dirt trail. Kenneth advised after some time he began looking around the area and at the split in the roadway. He, Kenneth, found what looked like fresh tire tracks which went west at the split in the roadway. Officer Cruz documented in his report that numerous attempts to contact Daniel, but received negative contact. Furthermore, he documented he and Buckeye PD Officer Thatcher searched the area for Daniel, but did not locate Daniel or his Jeep Renegade. See Officer Cruz's report for further information. Actions taken by me. After reviewing the said report, I conducted follow-up to the incident to try and locate Daniel. Calling Daniel's phone. At approximately 7:37 a.m., I called Daniel's listed phone number. When I called, the call went straight to voicemail, and I did not leave a voicemail. Daniel's phone was also attempted to be called by Buckeye PD Officer Radliff at approximately 11:45 a.m., but the call went straight to voicemail. Contact with David. After I attempted contact with Daniel by phone, I called David. David answered, and he and I talked about the situation. I informed David of who I was and that I was continuing to investigate the situation regarding Daniel going missing. David was asked if he has since heard from Daniel or if he knew of Daniel's whereabouts. David advised he had not heard from Daniel and didn't know where Daniel was at. I asked David if he knew of any locations where Daniel would go. David said he didn't know of any specific locations. I asked David if Daniel had any family or friends in Arizona. David advised he, David, lives in South Carolina and that Daniel's mother lives there too. He said Daniel's sister lives in California, but he didn't know her specific address in California. David said Daniel lives alone, and Daniel's other sister, identified as Davisha Lafayette, was the only family member which lives in Arizona. David said he has since been in contact with Davisha, as well as the rest of their family, but no one has heard from Daniel or knew Daniel's whereabouts. David provided me with Davisha's contact information, as I was not aware of it at the time. I asked David if he was aware of Daniel having any medical and or mental health issues. David said he was not aware of Daniel having any medical or mental health issues. David stated that Daniel had been acting odd lately. I asked David if he can explain what he meant by this. David stated within the last few weeks, Daniel had told him he had met a woman and that he was in love with her. David said Daniel didn't appear to know anything about the woman and that he thought it was odd he was in love with her. David did not provide any other examples of why he believed Daniel was acting odd. So I asked David if he had ever observed Daniel doing and or saying anything that would suggest he, Daniel, wanted to hurt and or kill himself. Daniel advised he had not observed anything like that. I then asked David if he had heard any information from anyone else about Daniel wanting to hurt and or kill himself. David said he has not heard anything like that from anyone else. Ultimately, David reported no information that suggested Daniel was suicidal or that Daniel wanted to hurt himself. I asked David if Daniel uses any drugs such as marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamine, etc. David said he was only aware of Daniel using marijuana. I asked David if Daniel had any social media accounts, and if he did, has he, David, checked them to see if Daniel has posted any photos or information on the accounts since he went missing. David told me Daniel does have an Instagram account and a Facebook account. David checked them while he was on the phone with me and advised he did not see any new information on the accounts. David said Daniel's photos on his Instagram account appear to have been removed since he has gone missing. David said the photos were on Daniel's Instagram account prior to him going missing. David provided me with Daniel's account names for Facebook and for Instagram. He also described the image or photo used by Daniel for each account. I asked David if he had ever met the woman which Daniel had recently told him about. David said no. I asked David if he knew her name or had any information about her. David said her name is Caitlyn and that he was able to locate her Instagram account. Her account information was reported as the following: redacted. I asked David if he had any other concerns for Daniel. David advised this situation was just not like Daniel to do. David advised that Daniel has never done anything like this before, especially not notifying anyone about what was going on. I informed David I would contact him later with the outcome of my investigation. I told David he needed to report to police any information regarding Daniel's whereabouts and or any contact from Daniel. David said he would, and we disconnected. Contact with Davisha. After speaking to David, I called Davisha. Davisha answered and she and I talked about the situation. I first informed Davisha of who I was and that I was continuing to investigate the situation regarding Daniel going missing. Davisha was aware of Daniel missing and said she has been in contact with her family, but no one has heard from Daniel or was aware of his whereabouts. Davisha was directly asked if she has since heard from Daniel or if she knew of Daniel's whereabouts. Davisha said she has not heard from Daniel and did not know where he was at. I asked Davisha if she knew of any locations where Daniel would go. Davisha said she was unaware of any specific locations. I asked her if Daniel had any family or friends in Arizona and informed her of David's report of family and friends that he, David, reported to me. Davisha advised she was not aware of any other family or friends to contact, other than what had been already reported by David. Davisha confirmed that Daniel lives alone in Tempe, Arizona, and that she lives in Phoenix. Davisha confirmed her address with me. Davisha said Daniel used to live in the Phoenix area, but has been living at his current address in Tempe for the last year. During my conversation with Davisha, she confirmed that Daniel works for blank and has been at that job for about a year. I asked Davisha if she was aware of Daniel having any medical and or mental health issues. Davisha said she was not aware of Daniel having any medical or mental health issues. I informed Davisha that David and Kenneth reported Daniel was acting odd to them and the information they reported about this. I asked Davisha if she had any knowledge of Daniel acting odd lately. Davisha said once. Daniel came over once to her apartment and would just sit there for about 30 minutes and wouldn't say anything. She said she tried to talk to him, but he would just sit there and not respond. Davisha said he then walked out of the apartment. Davisha also mentioned that Daniel has been talking about meeting a woman lately and that he was in love with the woman. She said Daniel told her that this woman told him about an audio podcast to listen to, and that upon listening to it, it changed the way he looks at life. Davisha said Daniel told her the podcast showed him how to view things in the world in a positive energy and to avoid negative energy. Davisha said he told her he was in love with this woman and ultimately made it sound as if they were in a relationship together. I asked Davisha if the female's name was Caitlyn, and she said she believed so. I asked Davisha if she had any contact information for her. Davisha said she didn't, but believed Daniel told her her address was in Laveen, Arizona. Davisha didn't report any other information regarding Daniel acting odd. Due to this, I asked Davisha if she had any knowledge of Daniel doing and or saying anything that would suggest he, Daniel, wanted to hurt and or kill himself. Davisha said she has not observed anything like that. I then asked Davisha if she had heard any information from anyone else about Daniel wanting to hurt and or kill himself. Davisha said she had not heard anything like that from anyone else. Ultimately, Davisha reported no information that suggested Daniel was suicidal or that Daniel wanted to hurt himself. I asked Davisha if she was aware of Daniel using any drugs such as marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamine, etc. Davisha said she was only aware of Daniel using marijuana and drinking alcohol. I informed Davisha of David's report regarding Daniel's social media accounts. I asked her if she was aware of Daniel posting or putting any pictures and or photos on his account since he, Daniel, went missing. Davisha said she was not aware of any new photos and or information posted on Daniel's accounts. Davisha did confirm that it appeared that Daniel's photos were all taken off of his Instagram account. I asked Davisha if she had any other concerns for Daniel. Davisha advised this situation was just not like Daniel to do. Davisha said one time Daniel drove out to California to see their sister and didn't tell anyone he was doing that. Davisha said, however, Daniel leaving and not answering his phone, not talking to any of his employees or else was not something Daniel would do. I asked Davisha when Daniel drove out to California to see their sister. Davisha said it was around May 30th, 2021. I informed Davisha I would contact her later with the outcome of my investigation. I told her that she needed to report to police any information regarding Daniel's whereabouts and or any contact from Daniel. Davisha said she would, and we disconnected. Contact with Daniel's employers for blank global water. I informed Kevin of who I was and that I was conducting follow-up in reference to Daniel being a missing person. Kevin advised he was aware of Daniel missing from the job site and that he was one of Daniel's supervisors. Kevin said Daniel does in fact work for blank global water and has been an employee with them for about a year. Kevin Blank was not with Daniel at the job site yesterday, June 23rd, 2021, but Kenneth was, and Kenneth told him what happened. This was the same Kenneth as previously reported. Kevin advised since Daniel has been missing, he has not heard from Daniel and that no one in the company has received contact from him. Kenneth said this was unlike Daniel, as he had never done something like this before while working for the company. Kevin said Daniel did not show up to work today, June 24th, 2021, even though his shift started earlier today, June 24th, 2021. I asked Kevin if he could send me the coordinates to the job site location where Kenneth and Daniel were on June 23, 2021. Kevin advised he would. I then provided Kevin with my contact information. I informed Kevin I would contact him back with the outcome of my investigation. I told Kevin to call the police if Daniel contacted him or if Daniel's whereabouts were known. Kevin said he would. A short time after ending my contact with Kevin, I received an image from Kevin on my work email. Upon review of the image, it was an image of a screenshot from a cell phone showing the Google Maps application. The image of the map was in satellite view, and it showed the area of Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road in Buckeye, Arizona. The image of the map area had red-colored pin marks showing notes of where the job site was located. Kevin also sent me a direct text message to my work cell phone. The text message was a direct link to a dropped pin location via the Google Maps application. I clicked on the link and it took me to the location of the following coordinates, blank. This location is about 1 mile west of Sun Valley Parkway and about 1 mile north of West Cactus Road. This location appeared to be the job site as described. After speaking to Kevin, I contacted Kenneth by phone. Kenneth answered the phone when I called. I informed him of who I was and that I was conducting follow-up to Daniel being a missing person. I asked Kenneth if he had heard from Daniel since he was missing, or if he knew Daniel's whereabouts. Kenneth said he didn't know where he was and has not heard from him. I asked Kenneth if he could re-explain to me what happened the day Daniel went missing. Kenneth said Kenneth, works for another company that works along with blank Global Water. Kenneth said the day of the incident, June 23, 2021, was the first time he met Daniel. Kenneth said they drove out to the job site, he in his vehicle and Daniel in his Jeep. Kenneth explained to me over the phone the location of how they got into the location. This matched the image as seen on Google Maps as described above. Kenneth said they got to the job site at approximately 9:30 a.m. Kenneth said when they got to the job site, at times he noticed Daniel appeared to stare off into the distance or would just be staring at nothing in particular. Kenneth said Daniel would talk to him at times, but it was regarding topics that were not related to the work that they were there to do. Kenneth said this was odd to him. Kenneth. According to Kenneth, he recalls Daniel asking him, "Do you want to go home? Do you want to go back to Phoenix?" Kenneth said at that time it appeared it was going to rain. Kenneth said he told Daniel he would check the weather application on his cell phone. Kenneth stated as he, Kenneth, began to look at a weather application on his cell phone at about 9:45 a.m., he saw Daniel wave to him as if he was waving goodbye. Kenneth said Daniel didn't say anything, walked over to his Jeep, and drove away from the area. Kenneth said Daniel was last seen driving south on the dirt road from the job site. Kenneth explained that if Daniel continued south down the dirt road, he would have come to a spot where the road splits to the west and to the east. He said after Daniel didn't come back to the area, he went looking for Daniel. Kenneth said at the split in the roadway, he saw some fresh tire tracks that went west. Kenneth said it had rained while they were out there, so he believed the rain washed away all the tire tracks and the new tracks was from Daniel's vehicle. Kenneth said at one point he went to a part of high ground to scan the area for Daniel, but ultimately couldn't find him. Kenneth told me at some point, after Daniel left the job site, Kenneth contacted his boss, Steve, informing him of what was going on. Kenneth stated he later received word from Steve and other employees that Daniel did not contact anyone in the company since he left the job site, and that no one knew where he, Daniel, was at. Kenneth ultimately reported no behavior or statements from Daniel that suggested he was hallucinating, that he was incoherent, and or was having some kind of mental health issue. Additionally, Kenneth advised Daniel did not make any direct or indirect suicidal statements or actions. Before ending my contact with Kenneth, I informed him he needs to report to police any information he obtains regarding Daniel's whereabouts or if Daniel contacts him. Kenneth said he would. Investigation into Caitlyn. After speaking to Kenneth, I checked the name Caitlyn through the NCIC, ACIC, MVD, and Buckeye PD. I was able to locate a female named Caitlyn Ann Blank. Caitlyn's physical characteristics matched the female as blank account Caitlyn Blank. Furthermore, Caitlyn's address listed in the blank showed in Laveen, Arizona. Believing this to be the subject, Connect had Phoenix PD respond to Caitlyn's address to attempt contact with her. Phoenix PD Officer Sanchez, number 8162, called me back a short time later and advised me he was able to make contact with Caitlyn at her home. Officer Sanchez advised me that Caitlyn was not with Daniel and did not know Daniel's whereabouts. Officer Sanchez provided me with Caitlyn's number and said that Caitlyn was available for contact if needed. After speaking to Officer Sanchez, I called Caitlyn and she answered the phone. I informed Caitlyn of who I was and advised her of the situation regarding Daniel going missing. I informed Caitlyn that she was not in any trouble and that neither was Daniel. I told Caitlyn I was only calling to ask her some questions to see how she knew Daniel and if she knew any information that could assist police in locating him. Caitlyn said she understood, was willing to talk to me about the situation. Caitlyn advised she did not know where Daniel was located and that she had last heard from Daniel via a text message on 6/22/2021. Caitlyn explained that she and Daniel are not in a relationship and that she has only known him since June 12, 2021. According to Caitlyn, on that said day, her and her female friend were at her home, Caitlyn's home, and that they ordered food through a service called Instacart. Caitlyn explained Instacart was a food ordering service similar to Grubhub and Uber. I was aware that these food services allow a customer/user to order food from a selection of places, and upon ordering the food, the employee working for the food delivery service will pick up the food and will deliver it to any location the customer specifies. Caitlyn said Daniel was the person who delivered their food that night. Caitlyn said Daniel was very nice, and she and her female friend asked Daniel if he wanted to hang out with them at that time. Caitlyn said she and her female friend were drunk, and that looking back on it, she shouldn't have invited a stranger into her home. Caitlyn said she believed Daniel was harmless though, as he had only one arm and was short in height. Caitlyn advised Daniel and her exchanged phone numbers that night, and she sent him a podcast that he should listen to. Caitlyn advised nothing else happened that night, which was odd, abnormal, or criminal. Caitlyn said that night Daniel had a canopy which he had in his vehicle, which he left at her home, accidentally. Caitlyn advised that a few days after that night, June 12, 2021, Daniel sent her a text message that he had accidentally left the canopy and asked her when it was okay for him to come and get it. Caitlyn said she sent a text message back to Daniel saying he could come by anytime to get it. Caitlyn advised Daniel sent her another text message saying he could come by right then or tomorrow afternoon. She said he then sent her a text message asking for directions to her home. Caitlyn said she never responded back to Daniel as she was out of town at the time. She said while she was out of town, she observed Daniel on her home security camera go up to her door, attempting to make contact, then leaving the area. Caitlyn said she felt that Daniel should have asked for permission to come over to her home before just showing up there. Caitlyn told me she also never provided Daniel with her address or directions to her home, so she said he either used the Instacart food order information to obtain her address or remembered how to get to her home. Caitlyn said on June 16, 2021, she sent Daniel a text message advising that she had seen him on the security cameras, but that she wasn't home. Caitlyn said she told Daniel when she came back to town, she will make arrangements for him to get the canopy. Caitlyn said Daniel then began to become very creepy, sending her a text message of a heart emoji and sending her a text message that says he loves her. Caitlyn said one day after this message, he sent her a text message that he was outside of her home. Caitlyn said this made her very concerned. According to Caitlyn, she was unsure why Daniel would fall in love with her or be in love with her because according to Caitlyn, she never did or said anything that would make Daniel think she wanted that kind of relationship. Caitlyn said what made her more worried was Daniel coming over to her home unannounced, even after being told not to. Caitlyn said she sent Daniel a message telling him she did not feel comfortable about him coming to her home unannounced and to ultimately stop talking to her. Caitlyn said her last contact from Daniel was a text message from him on June 22, 2021, around 3 p.m., where he said she wouldn't see him anymore. Caitlyn said she has since not heard from Daniel. Caitlyn said she will screenshot the text messages and will send them to me. I asked her to upload the screenshots into evidence.com via the Action Citizen Capture link, which I sent her. I informed Caitlyn about the injunction against harassment process and the AZ Point website. I informed her she should make a report with Phoenix PD, but that I would document what she had told me in my report. I provided her with the report number and my contact information. I told her to call the police if she heard from Daniel or knew anything regarding his whereabouts. After speaking to Caitlyn, I later received notification via evidence.com that Caitlyn uploaded 4 images. Upon review of them, it appeared that they were screenshots taken from a phone which appears to show text message communication between her and Daniel. The following are the text messages between Caitlyn and Daniel and the dates and times for them. Sunday, June 13th, 2:29 a.m. Caitlyn sends a link. podcast.apple.com. Sunday, June 13th, 2:29 a.m. Daniel replies, "Hey." Monday, June 14th, 7:19 p.m. Daniel writes, "Hey, I accidentally left my canopy outside your house. Is it still there? If so, is it okay if I pick it up?" Daniel also adds, "Also, the podcast was great." Tuesday, June 15th, 1:37 p.m. Caitlyn replies, "Yes, you can pick it up whenever." Tuesday, June 15th, 8:30 p.m. Daniel writes, "Thanks. How do I get there again? I can come now or tomorrow afternoon to grab it." Wednesday, June 16th, 2:06 p.m. Caitlyn writes, "Hi. I saw you on the camera. I'm in Flagstaff and will be home later tonight. If you want, I can put it out front by the chairs before I head out for work tomorrow morning." Wednesday, June 16th, 3:12 p.m. Daniel sends a red-colored heart emoji. Wednesday, June 16th, 10:13 p.m. Daniel writes, "I'm sorry." Thursday, June 17th, 6:39 p.m. Caitlyn writes, "Please stop showing up unannounced." Daniel replies, "Okay, I won't ever again." Caitlyn replies, "Thanks. and I'm looking right now and don't see the canopy in the garage. Daniel replied, "Don't worry about it. I already have it." Caitlyn said, "I'm confused." Daniel replied, "I did grab it yesterday. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry for disappearing the other day." At the end of the sentence of this message, Daniel sends a sad face emoji. And Daniel writes again, "I couldn't stop thinking about you." Saturday, June 19th, 12:44 p.m. "Can we hang out?" Caitlyn replies, "I'm not home." Daniel says, "Okay." Sunday, June 20th, 12:14 a.m. Daniel says, "I love you." Sunday, 8:28 a.m. Daniel writes, "Are you home today?" Sunday, June 20th, Caitlyn replies, 9:36 a.m. "Honestly, you showing up at my house unannounced made me extremely uncomfortable. I will not be home today, but I don't see us hanging out anytime soon." Daniel replied, "Okay, but do you have any doubt? Either way, I'll have to be okay with your answer." Monday, June 21st. Daniel writes at 11:44 a.m. "How are you feeling?" Monday, 3:46 p.m. Daniel writes, "I'm outside of your place." Caitlyn replies, "Please stop doing that. I'm not even home. This is not okay." Daniel replies, "I guess not." Caitlyn replies, "Not you guess. I've told you it is not okay and to not come by my home unannounced." Daniel replies, "Are you okay with me?" Caitlyn says, "No. This isn't normal nor acceptable." Daniel asks, "What is normal?" Caitlyn says, "Making plans before showing up at someone's home, and if someone has expressed that you've made them uncomfortable, you need to back off." Daniel replies, "Do you hate me?" Caitlyn says, "I don't hate you, but please leave me alone." 8:46 p.m. Monday night. Daniel replies, "You're right." Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021. Daniel texts, "The world can get better, but I'll have to take all the time I can, or we can, whatever to name it. I'll either see you again or never see you again." On June 24th, 2021, I had Buckeye PD dispatch contact Tempe PD and requested they check Daniel's home for him and or his vehicle. I later received information from Buckeye PD dispatch that Tempe PD went out to the home but were unable to make contact with anyone there. Additionally, they were unable to locate Daniel's vehicle. Dispatch reported the Tempe officer advised they could see about 80% of the interior of Daniel's home via a window, but that they couldn't see any signs of anyone being home. Tempe PD ultimately had no other information to provide. Contact with Luke Joseph. At the later end of my shift, I received contact from Davisha by phone. Davisha said she was able to obtain information from a former college roommate of Daniel's named Marcus, that one of Daniel's friends named Luke Blank had recently flown into Arizona to see Daniel. Davisha said she obtained a phone number for Luke, which she provided to me. I asked Davisha if Marcus had any further information regarding Daniel's whereabouts, or if he had heard from Daniel. Davisha said Marcus did not know where Daniel was at and had not heard from him. Davisha ultimately had no further information to report, so we ended our conversation. After obtaining this information from Davisha, I called Luke by phone. Luke answered the call and fully identified himself as Luke Joseph Greco. Date of birth. I informed Luke of who I was and that I was calling him in reference to Daniel being a missing person. When I informed Luke of this, he said he was not aware that Daniel went missing. I asked Luke if he was with Daniel or if he knew where Daniel was at. Luke said he was not with Daniel and was not aware of his whereabouts. Luke explained that he had flew into Arizona to visit Daniel over the past weekend, and he stayed with Daniel at his home. Luke said on 6/20/2021, he, Luke, flew back to New York, where he, Luke, lives. I asked Luke when was the last time he had heard from Daniel. Luke said on 6/22/2021, around evening time. He sent Daniel a message on Instagram, and Daniel liked his message. I talked to Luke about the allegations of Daniel reportedly acting odd or talking in an abnormal way. I asked Luke if he observed Daniel do or say anything that was abnormal to him. Luke said he didn't observe any odd actions or statements from Daniel. I asked Luke if Daniel has ever made any direct or vague statements, or if Daniel made any actions that suggested he, Daniel, was going to or wanted to hurt himself or kill himself. Luke said he has never heard Daniel say or do anything before like that. However, Luke said he does recall Daniel telling him, Luke, that he was glad he was in town to visit because he, Daniel, had been feeling depressed lately. Luke said Daniel said this to him while they were at a bar. Luke advised Daniel, however, didn't tell him what he was depressed about or say anything else regarding that. Luke ultimately couldn't provide any other information suggesting Daniel was suicidal and or acting odd. Before ending my contact with Luke, I informed him he needs to report to police any information he obtains regarding Daniel's whereabouts or if Daniel contacts him. Luke said he would. Attempt to locate Daniel through his phone/vehicle and through TLO officer. During my follow-up on 6/23/2021, I obtained information from David that Daniel possibly has either the OnStar system or the Uconnect system in his vehicle, which could possibly allow for Daniel's vehicle to be located. Upon obtaining this information, I contacted the OnStar system customer service phone number. I was able to speak to one of the OnStar system employees who advised that Daniel's vehicle, a 2017 Jeep Renegade, would not have this system in it because the said company does not put that system in 2017 Jeep Renegades. After obtaining that information, I called the customer service number for the Uconnect system and was able to speak to an employee for the company. The Uconnect system employee advised it did appear that this vehicle was in their database, but that Daniel had never created an account under the Uconnect system. The Uconnect system employee was asked that if I were to create an account for the vehicle, could its location be tracked? The Uconnect system employee said it could, unless there was other circumstances that had occurred, such as the vehicle not having any electricity from the battery, or if someone has tampered with the vehicle. I advised my immediate supervisor of this information, and with his approval, signed up for the Uconnect system account so Daniel or his vehicle could be located. After the account was created, I was informed by the Uconnect system that I would get notifications sent to my work email which showed the vehicle's location, if the vehicle's location could be known. I was informed that there was no actions that I needed to do, other than reviewing the information sent to my work email from the Uconnect system. At approximately 12:41 hours, I received an email from the Uconnect system showing information to the vehicle's location. The email showed that as of 2:31 p.m. Central Time, the GPS location of the vehicle showed 0.0/0.0. The Uconnect system email showed the course information as 0 degrees at 0 kilometers per hour. No further information was reported to me in the email showing the vehicle's location. This email was screenshot and uploaded into evidence.com. As well as attempting to locate Daniel and his vehicle, Buckeye PD dispatch contacted Daniel's cell phone provider to attempt to locate him through his cell phone. Dispatch would later report to me at the end of my shift of June 24th, 2021. Several attempts to locate Daniel through his cell phone was made, but to no avail. Dispatch advised no information to Daniel's location was known, and no information to his last known location was known. Checking area for Daniel. On June 24th, 2021, I checked the area of North 315th Avenue, a few miles north of West Highland Drive. This area is a few miles south of the job site. In that area, I checked for Daniel, his vehicle, or any signs of both. I was ultimately unable to locate anything. Actions taken before end of shift, June 24th, 2021. Before ending my shift on June 24th, 2021, David, Davisha, and Kevin were contacted by phone and given the outcome of the efforts made in my investigation to Daniel being missing. They were all informed to call police if Daniel's whereabouts were known or if Daniel contacted any one of them. It should be noted that David, Davisha, and Kevin were advised that a helicopter was requested through my immediate supervisor to attempt to check the area for Daniel, but was declined. They were informed that I would look into the matter on June 25th, 2021, upon my return to work. Additionally, I told them the officer, which comes on the shift prior to me going off shift, will be briefed about everything that has gone on. After speaking to the said parties, I contacted the oncoming shift officer, Buckeye PD Officer Ashton. I informed her of all pertinent information. Follow-up taken on June 25th, 2021. Upon the start of my shift, I was informed by Sergeant Fletcher, my immediate supervisor, that Daniel was still reportedly missing, as he had been briefed by the Buckeye PD supervisor, which works the graveyard shift. I asked Sergeant Fletcher for direction on what further actions needed to be done due to Daniel still missing. Sergeant Fletcher advised to document all information that I had obtained in my investigation and to document my actions up to that time. He advised the case would be forwarded to Buckeye PD detectives for follow-up. Helicopter search and recheck of job site area by Buckeye PD. Later in my shift on June 25th, 2021, I received word from Sergeant Fletcher that Daniel's aunt had called Buckeye PD to talk to a supervisor about her concerns regarding Daniel being missing. Sergeant Fletcher advised he contacted Daniel's aunt, and upon speaking to her about the situation, the decision to request for a helicopter will be made. A short time after obtaining this information, I received word from Sergeant Fletcher that Phoenix Firebird helicopter would be heading to the job site location to check the surrounding area for Daniel and Daniel's vehicle. While the helicopter checked the area, Buckeye PD Officer Brown and Buckeye PD Sergeant C. Hale checked the desert area as well. Ultimately, Daniel and his vehicle were not located. Uconnect system rechecked. While the helicopter and Buckeye PD officers checked for Daniel, I attempted to obtain any further information from the Uconnect system that could assist in locating Daniel or his vehicle. Ultimately, numerous attempts to get this to work, Daniel's vehicle location was unable to be located through the Uconnect system. I was informed by the Uconnect system employee that the reason the vehicle location was not able to be determined was either from someone tampering with the system, the Uconnect system application not being properly updated in Daniel's vehicle, or that the vehicle's battery had no charge, which means his vehicle battery was dead. The Uconnect system employee specified that Daniel's vehicle could be tracked even if his engine was off. Recontacted by Kevin at end of shift on June 25th, 2021. Kevin called me during my shift on June 25th, 2021, but I was not able to answer his call until later at the end of shift. When I called Kevin back, he answered and he asked me for an update on the case. I informed him of the current situation and asked him if he had any new information to report. Kevin said he did not. I informed Kevin that due to Daniel being at work at the time of him missing, I would believe someone in law enforcement would contact either him or someone in Daniel's employer to report any new information regarding contact with Daniel or his condition. Kevin said he understood and he was satisfied with the actions taken thus far by police. Before ending my contact with Kevin, he again advised he would report to police any new information that he receives regarding Daniel. Conclusion. As of 6/26/2021 at 11:11 a.m., Daniel is missing and his whereabouts are not known. This concludes this report at this time. A supplemental report will be completed upon any new information that I receive regarding this case. It should be noted that my Axon 3 body camera was recording during contacts with parties in this case. All body camera footage from my body camera was uploaded into evidence.com. Nothing further at this time. Detective L. Biffin, number 4216, 6/30/2021, 9:45 a.m. Initial case review. On Saturday, June 26, 2021, this case was assigned to me for follow-up investigation. I reviewed the report thus far and learned that on June 23, 2021, Daniel arrived to a job site off Sun Valley Parkway, where he met with co-worker Kenneth. Kenneth told officers that Daniel was acting strange and left the site without saying anything. He was concerned because he believes that Daniel turned down the road that led farther into the desert and not towards the main road. Daniel was reported missing by his family in South Carolina, as they had not heard from him since that morning. The initial patrol level investigation revealed that Daniel had made some statements to a girl named Caitlyn, indicating she may never see him again after she asked him to leave her alone. There was no indication that Daniel was suicidal or that he had any plans to leave the area. Officer Haley conducted extensive and well-documented follow-up and made efforts to locate Daniel and his vehicle using the blank feature that some Jeeps are equipped with. Contact with Kenneth. I made contact with coworker Kenneth. Kenneth had previously been interviewed by the case officer. I wanted to know if Kenneth recalled what Daniel was wearing, and he did not remember. He did recall that Daniel was wearing his safety vest when he arrived and when he drove off. He also noted that Daniel's shoes were not tied. Kenneth said that he had never worked with Daniel before. He said that when they arrived, they had to wait for a storm cell to pass. Kenneth said that during that time, Daniel was looking around and seemed off. He started asking Kenneth if he wanted to go to Phoenix to rest, which confused Kenneth. After about 15 minutes, Kenneth said Daniel got in his Jeep and drove off without saying anything more to him. Kenneth advised that he drove the area to see where Daniel went and informed me that since it had rained, he could see Daniel's tire track pretty clear, at least for a portion of the road leading away from the site. He advised that Daniel's track turned west, down the dirt road leading out into the desert area. Kenneth stated that he drove around for a period of time trying to see where Daniel might have gone, but he was not able to locate him. Kenneth explained that this was the first time he had worked with Daniel and expressed concern that he had not heard from him since that day. First contact with Daniel's father, David. I made contact with David, Daniel's father. David advised he would be coming to Arizona to help search for Daniel. David expressed genuine concern and explained that it is not like Daniel to take off in a manner such as this. David was not aware of any of his friends in the area. He said that Daniel had moved to Arizona relatively recently. The call was on speakerphone with Daniel's sister as well. I asked them both about David's friends. David mentioned a friend of Daniel's named Antonio Blank, who is a 23 to 34-year-old male, and provided the phone number Blank. This is a friend of Daniel's who offered him an apartment last month. Daniel expressed interest in going, but did not have a plan that anyone knew of. Daniel's sister said that in May, Daniel took a spontaneous trip to San Francisco without telling anyone. While on his way, he contacted his other sister in Fremont for a place to stay for the night. This current situation is different because he has not been in contact with anyone for several days. David advised there are no known medical issues or mental health issues, although it appears Daniel's behavior in the week or two prior to this incident has been unusual. I was also advised that Daniel's Instagram account appears to have had all the posts deleted, but his family says they were there a day or two before he went missing. David said that Daniel uses Blank for his banking and has a Blank credit card which he just got. Account numbers are unknown, but he is pretty sure these are the only accounts Daniel has. David later advised that Daniel also has a Blank account, but they do not have access. I advised David to contact an attorney to see if there was a possibility he can obtain power of attorney through civil courts, which may allow him to obtain phone and bank records to assist in locating Daniel. Contact with Blank. I then obtained call detail records, CDRs, and a continuous ping on Daniel's phone. Upon review, I found that the CDRs were only from June 24th, after the phone was off. All of the information I was able to see on this initial disclosure appeared to be unanswered incoming calls and messages after Daniel had gone missing. I recontacted T-Mobile on June 27, 2021, and updated the exigent form, explaining to T-Mobile that I believe Daniel was possibly in danger. T-Mobile agreed to provide call details dating back to June 22, 2021, but advised that any additional data would require a search warrant. Contact with friend Antonio. On June 27, 2021, I made contact with Antonio. Antonio talked to Daniel on the phone for 17 minutes on June 16th. Daniel seemed more hyper than usual and was talking about two girls he met while delivering alcohol for Blank. Daniel told him he hooked up with one of the girls. Daniel didn't have friends there yet and was very social and could be gullible. He told me about a post that Daniel made on Facebook on June 20th with a sun emoji and the words "in 4." The picture was with Luke, who'd been visiting Daniel until June 20th, 2021. Antonio later informed that Daniel had talked to another friend named Ruben Blank, who lived in Florida. His number is blank. Contact with friend Luke. I called and spoke with Luke, whom officers had already contacted previously. Luke was visiting Daniel up until June 20th, 2021. Luke was visiting because he is thinking about moving out to Phoenix. The post on Facebook was at the bar and had him in it, and he was referring to Suns in 4, related to the Phoenix Suns basketball playoffs, and he was not aware of Daniel planning to leave anywhere. Luke did not mention any behavior that seemed unusual. Contact with friend Ruben. I called Ruben and he advised he spoke with Daniel on 6/22/2021 at about 3:25 p.m. Florida time, and they spoke for about 5 minutes. He said he was asking Daniel about vacation spots in Arizona and California, but Daniel seemed down and like something was on his mind. Ruben said the conversation was short and he did not know what was wrong. Daniel did not make any statements about hurting himself, but Ruben said that Daniel just seemed quote-unquote off. Ruben said Daniel does like to hike and explore and it is not unusual for him to take off and explore, but it is unusual for him to not stay in contact, and everyone is concerned for him. Reuben did not have any additional information to add. Updated T-Mobile data. On June 27, 2021, I received updated records from T-Mobile. The records only show 5 outgoing text messages before Daniel went missing. The records only show that a message was sent, but do not reveal the content of the message or call. The last text message at 8:10 a.m. on June 23rd to co-worker Kenneth, who was the last person to see Daniel. A text to Caitlyn on June 22nd, 2021 at 3:07 was noted by Officer Haley and confirmed time 3:07 on CDRs. Officer Haley's report quoted the last text Daniel sent to Caitlyn on 6/22/2021. The message reads, "The world can get better, but I'll have to take all the time I can, or we can, whatever to name it. I'll either see you again or never see you again." There were 2 text messages outgoing to Stephen, the company boss, on blank, but there is no date here. Contact with apartment manager. Contact with apartment manager. On July 6th, 2021, Detective Favela and I made contact with Tiffany, who is the manager at Daniel's apartment complex. I filled her in on some basic information about Daniel's disappearance. Tiffany stated that Daniel's family had been there, but she was not able to provide entry to his apartment to them. She said that Buckeye Police Department had sent Tempe police officers to check out his apartment when Daniel went missing, but they did not make entry, only knocked on the door and received no answer. She advised that Daniel's employer paid his rent this month. Tiffany allowed us to enter the apartment to perform a welfare check. Daniel was not located in the apartment. The common areas of the apartment appeared to be well kept and clean, and no valuables appeared to be missing. There was no indication of foul play and no indication that Daniel had packed and planned a trip. Daniel did not appear to take his computers or valuable items. Daniel's bedroom was messy with clothes and miscellaneous items on the floor. I also observed what appeared to be marijuana blunts left on the counters and in various places in the apartment. Detectives exited the apartment and Tiffany secured the doors and windows. Desert checks. Previous to my involvement, Buckeye Police Department coordinated an aerial search by helicopter with negative results. Multiple patrol officers also circulated the desert area in 4x4 vehicles looking for Daniel over multiple days. On July 6, 2021, myself and Detective Favela searched the area by ground vehicle for several hours. We were not able to locate Daniel or his vehicle, but I did observe multiple mountain areas where Daniel may have wanted to explore. Once off the service roads or trails, much of the desert area becomes challenging to traverse without the appropriate off-road vehicle. On July 7, 2021, I placed several flyers along the gated entrances to the desert area along Sun Valley Parkway, where Daniel was last seen, in hopes that workers, landowners, and those entering the area for other purposes may be aware of Daniel and his vehicle. I then went to Buckeye Airport and placed flyers with maps of Daniel's last known location in the pilot's lounge, so that those flying in the area can be on the lookout as well. While there, I contacted Michael Blank of Buckeye A&P Services, along with a few other pilots in his presence, and advised them of the search efforts and showed them the flyer and maps. I also emailed Michael a copy of the flyer and map to circulate to other pilots in the area. Civil Air Patrol search and rescue efforts. On July 7, 2021, I reached out to the Civil Air Patrol commander for the unit based out of Glendale Airport. I was aware that CAP may assist with search and rescue efforts. My email was forwarded to Major Dallas Lane of the U.S. Air Force Auxiliary CAP. Major Lane is the Air Force Wing Search and Rescue Officer. I was able to speak with Major Lane on the phone, and he advised that he was getting things working with the Air Force and they would assist us in the search for Daniel. Major Lane advised that since Daniel had a vehicle and a last known location, there was a good possibility that they would be able to locate Daniel if he was in the area. Major Lane advised that they would use their trained CAP volunteers on the ground and in the air for the search, and he would require a Buckeye Police Department representative to accompany them. Major Lane said that he would work on getting a mission planned, but it may take a day or two to prepare. On July 9, 2021, at 5:45 a.m., I met with Daniel's father, David, out at Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road. The search and rescue group from Civil Air Patrol was en route, and their first aircraft was set to leave Deer Valley Airport at 6 a.m. I advised David that he would not be able to accompany us for this search, per Civil Air Patrol procedures. I also informed him that in the unfortunate event that this turned into a criminal investigation, I needed to maintain the integrity of the search. David understood and stayed near the roadway during a portion of the search operation. The search operation ran from 6 a.m. until about noon. 2 aircraft completed 4 searches. A map of the area searched has been attached to this case. Major Lane met with his crew later that evening to review the data and decided to send another plane out on July 10, 2021, to follow up on some of the areas that they wanted to search further. Major Lane advised that the aircraft flew for a few hours, double-checking several areas, but were not able to locate any signs of Daniel or his vehicle. It is important to note that the search boundaries are closely related to roads or trails, where if Daniel had reached these points, he could have gone in any direction. Major Lane advised that they would gladly assist with further searches if new information became available. Follow-up at Circle K in Goodyear. Buckeye Police Department received a call from a citizen who saw the missing persons flyer. The citizen reported that she believed Daniel was working at the Circle K, located at the southwest corner of Pebble Creek Parkway and West McDowell Road. On July 6, 2021, I made contact with a clerk who advised they had a male subject named Malachi, who was similar to Daniel, that was working there. She said Malachi had been there a couple of months but didn't have a vehicle and didn't have his phone number or any identifiable information. She advised he was missing an arm and he looked similar to Daniel. She also advised that Malachi would be at work after 10 a.m. on July 7, 2021. On 7/7/2021, at about 11:30 a.m., I conducted follow-up at the Circle K. I observed Malachi working. Malachi did not resemble Daniel in the face, and he was missing the opposite arm. I visually confirmed this was not Daniel. I also did not see Daniel's vehicle in the parking lot. Follow-up at Valleywise Behavioral Health. On July 9, 2021, while I was out on the search operation, dispatch received a call from an anonymous citizen who advised that she might have seen Daniel being brought into the Valleywise Behavioral Health Center. I made phone calls to the facility, but due to privacy laws was not able to get any information over the phone. Phoenix Police Department dispatched a patrol officer to the facility who advised that Daniel had not been a patient there. Detective Favela contacted Phoenix Police Officer Terry Lacker, who is a community action officer in that area. Officer Lacker conducted extensive follow-up with the facility and confirmed with absolute certainty that the subject was not Daniel, and Daniel had not been at that facility under his name or any other name. I then contacted CIT Officer Cosgrove and requested he assist with checking all of the local mental health facilities again. Officer Cosgrove worked with his contacts and determined that Daniel was not listed as a patient at any of the local mental health facilities. Follow up with blank. On July 11th, 2021, I recontacted blank by email. I expressed to them that Daniel was still missing, not a criminal investigation. I would not likely be able to obtain warrants. I expressed concern for Daniel's ability to survive in the desert at this point. I also advised blank that Daniel's sister was the account holder, and she would give consent to obtain any historical information or data related to Daniel going missing. I received a phone call from blank security team about an hour later. The rep advised that he got approval to run searches dating back to June 21st, 2021. He advised that there was no location data. He explained that things like connecting to Wi-Fi could have caused him not to use cell towers if calls were made, and he further advised that text messages wouldn't always show location data based on the way data is routed through their network. He also advised they performed searches to see if Daniel's phone showed up any test signals sent out by blank after his disappearance, and it did not. At this point, blank has not been able to provide any location data for Daniel's phone related to June 23rd, 2021. Media release. Since Daniel's case has received national media attention and several people have expressed interest in assisting with search efforts, I decided to release to the public information about where we have searched. I contacted Sergeant Z. Astrup, who handles PIO releases, and provided him with details about what our agency has done, and provided him with the search maps to be released as well. All of the information was released to the media and on the police department's social media pages to raise public awareness in hopes that Daniel would be located. Bank information. On July 15, 2021, I spoke with David Blank by phone. He advised that Daniel's brother was able to access Daniel's account and noted a purchase on June 23, 2021 at a Shell service station in Buckeye. David sent me a screenshot, but it did not provide time and specific location information. There are 3 Shell stations in Buckeye, one of which is close to the job site. I reached out to David again on July 16th to see if he was able to get additional details so that I could send an officer to secure video. He advised he was waiting on his other son to send the information, which would be within a few hours. On July 18, 2021, I received a message from David with screenshots of Daniel's blank and blank accounts. Among the charges, the following may be of value. Charges redacted. Facebook post. On July 16, 2021, it was brought to my attention that a person made a post to Facebook indicating that a vehicle similar to Daniel's was seen near Jackrabbit and Elliott Road in Buckeye. I checked Facebook and located the post under the missing persons flyer. The poster was listed as Tiger Blank, whom I discovered was Tony Blank with contact information in BPD's database. I contacted Tony by telephone and he advised his wife saw a vehicle parked in the desert near some bushes off of Jackrabbit Road before Elliott. He was not sure which direction she was traveling. Tony forwarded to me the picture his wife took, which was too blurry to properly identify. I did notice immediately that the wheels on the vehicle in the photo were gray, while the wheels on Daniel's Jeep are black. I then contacted Buckeye's dispatch and provided the information. I requested that a patrol officer check the area before it got dark if a unit is available, or to contact MCSO for a deputy to do an area check. Daniel's vehicle was not located. Daniel's vehicle located. On July 19, 2021, at about 8:54 in the morning, Mark Blank, a local rancher/landowner in Buckeye, contacted Buckeye Police to advise that he located a Jeep Renegade, which he believed to belong to the missing Daniel Robinson. He gave the license plate and advised that there were no in the vehicle. I advised dispatch to send a beat officer to the area to meet with the reporting party and stand by for detectives. Sergeant Hanneman and I then coordinated additional resources to include off-highway vehicles and a mobile command trailer. I then responded to the area and met with Blank and his partner Shannon. We met off of Sun Valley Parkway between mile 113 and 114 on the west side of the road. We then took the dirt road to the Power Line Road, which was marked with an orange flag, and headed north. From there, we traveled to another intersection and turned west towards Blank Corral area. He then led me down another dirt road to a mountain. A blank were utilized to get to the top. I then observed Daniel's 2017 blank on its passenger side. The GPS coordinates were noted blank. The vehicle was facing northwest. The vehicle had significant damage and appeared to have had a front impact with the dirt and rolled before resting on the passenger side. One piece of the Jeep's black removable roof was on the ground, partially wedged under the front of the Jeep. The driver's front window was shattered, and I located glass on the ground consistent with the Jeep rolling one time. There was also substantial damage to the lower front end and damage to the top of the windshield and roof. All of the interior airbags appeared to have been deployed. I observed jeans inside out, 2 brown work-type boots, a faded orange vest with the Blank Company logo, a t-shirt, and 2 socks which were inside out. I could see the outline of what appeared to be a wallet in the pocket of the jeans. I walked the same path to the vehicle which Blank had walked and did not observe any persons inside the vehicle. The vehicle was relatively clean on the outside, but it had been 3 or more big rains in this area since Daniel went missing. There was evidence of rain damage on the inside of the Jeep and a hard hat inside filled with rainwater. I located Daniel's Samsung Galaxy S10 cell phone, the vehicle and apartment keys, and a backpack with Daniel's work laptop and other documents inside. There were also other miscellaneous items inside the car like clothing, a basketball, unopened water bottles, and other items. I did not observe any blood or any other evidence of an injury despite the substantial damage to the vehicle. I checked the area and did not observe any indication that Daniel spent a considerable amount of time at the vehicle. There were no empty water bottles or other items other than Daniel's clothing in the area. There were no tire tracks immediately surrounding the vehicle that weren't made by the caller or detectives. I checked the top of the hill to the east of the vehicle and located some tracks that ran to the east and appeared to have been rained on since they were left and were hard to see. After some further investigation, detectives believed that Daniel's vehicle left the dirt roadway where it ended south of his job site near an open dirt area and proceeded up the hillside. It appeared that he drove over several bushes before ending up in the ravine. The vehicle was still in drive when it was found. The area was photographed and processed by BPD's crime scene manager, and those photos uploaded to evidence.com. Daniel's cell phone was dead. and I removed it and the keys along with his backpack from the vehicle. I then located his wallet with IDs and multiple debit and credit cards inside the jeans. There was no cash in the wallet. Detectives with BPD's Major Crimes Unit and General Investigations arrived on the scene along with Chief Hall, Assistant Chief Sanders, and multiple patrol officers. Deputy Clancy with MCSO and his partner from the Search and Rescue Group arrived with trucks and off-road vehicles. Chief Hall arranged for a radio channel to link the various agencies. An DPS Ranger helicopter was dispatched to conduct a low-altitude, thorough search of the area. Officer Price also arrived with BPD's drone and took aerial photos. BPD and MCSO personnel were in the area approximately 18 hours and searched the area by foot and with off-road vehicles. MCSO posse members arrived around 8:00 p.m. with approximately 6 to 7 cadaver and tracking dogs and set up a 4-quadrant search for Daniel. The dogs and their handlers searched for approximately 5 hours with no results. It should be noted that detectives and other searchers encountered one mountain lion in the area, but did not find any evidence that indicated Daniel had been attacked or encountered the animal. Prior to nightfall, Daniel's clothing was collected from the ground, and his wallet, phone, and backpack, with laptop, were also collected and taken to Buckeye Police Department for safekeeping. Easy Towing arrived with a 4x4 truck to recover the vehicle. The vehicle was then transported to Buckeye Police Department Property and Evidence Impound until Daniel's family could be notified. At Mr. Blank's request, I arranged for a tarp to be placed on the vehicle to preserve and prevent continued exposure to rain and dirt. Contact with David. On 7/20/2021, I contacted David and advised him we had located Daniel's vehicle. He agreed to meet with me at Buckeye Police Department later that day for a full brief. Mr. Robinson arrived and we discussed the circumstances surrounding Daniel's vehicle being located and the search effort. David was visibly upset by our findings, but thankful for our continued efforts to find Daniel. I advised David that I would like to look at the crashed computer in Daniel's Jeep and in Daniel's phone to see if either item would yield information about what happened and where Daniel may have gone. David agreed and wanted us to do whatever we needed to do. I explained to David that there are many possibilities, and we will continue to investigate and follow up on any leads or new information. I then took David to see Daniel's Jeep. Crash data. On July 21st, 2021, Officer Price was able to download the crash data from the vehicle's black box. He advised me that the Jeep did not record the date and time of the crash event, but said that the vehicle was going about 30 miles per hour at the time the airbags deployed. Private investigator Blank also conducted an investigation into the vehicle once they took possession of it. I later received the IVE vehicle download from the Jeep's information system from PI Blank and his associates. Further review of the CDR report is 32 pages long. The report indicates that the ignition cycle at the time of the download was 6,850. The drive seat belt was buckled at the time of the crash. The ignition cycle at the time of the crash was 6,805. This indicates that the ignition was cycled 44 times after the crash event, including the cycle by Officer Price for the download. The odometer reading at the time of the crash event was 58,154. The report indicated the airbag light was not illuminated at the time of the crash. I then reviewed the data from the IVE report from the infotainment system, which was downloaded by PI Blank and his associates. I observed data related to June 23, 2021, are in UTC time and are converted to Arizona time in this report. "6:26 a.m. Odometer is 58,055. 7:01 a.m. Odometer is 58,091.99. Google indicates that the distance from Daniel's residence to the Shell station at 1520 North Verrado Way is approximately 37 miles with a 35 to 40 minute drive. The time and distance between these odometer readings is consistent with Daniel driving from home to the Shell station. Additionally, data recovered from the Shell station indicates that Daniel was at the Shell station between 7 a.m. and 7:03 on June 23, 2021. 7:22 a.m. Odometer is 58,093.24. This is a distance of approximately 1.25 miles. A photo in Daniel's cell phone places him at a job site on Verrado Way, south of I-10, after leaving the Shell station. The coordinates attached to the image data are blank. Google indicates this is approximately 1.1 miles, but may vary based on the exact path taken. This is consistent with Daniel leaving the Shell station and going to the site on Verrado Way where he took the photos of work logs. It is unknown what time Daniel left the site on Verrado. 8:35 a.m. Odometer is 58,112.50. This is a difference of 19.26 miles. Google indicates that the distance between the site off of Verrado Way to Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road is about 22.9 miles via I-10. 9 a.m. Odometer is 58,129.90. This is a difference of 17.4 miles since the previous odometer reading. 9:06 a.m. is captured again at 58,129.90. 12:54 in the afternoon, odometer is 58,153.51. The difference in time and distance between the last two odometer readings is approximately 23.6 miles, with about 4 hours time passing. Based on this information, it is unclear where Daniel went between the Verrado job site and the Sun Valley Parkway job site. It is also unclear where he went between leaving the Sun Valley Parkway job site and the scene where his vehicle was later located. The infotainment report indicated that Daniel's Galaxy S10 Plus was last connected to the vehicle's Bluetooth system at 2:12 p.m. UTC, which is equal to 7:12 a.m. Arizona time. Please see Officer Price's supplement for further explanation of the CDR crash data and his download process. The completed 32-page report from the vehicle download is attached to this case file. The 756-page IVE report is also attached to this case. After reviewing the data over the course of several days, I began researching high-level accident reconstruction experts for possible assistance in reviewing the data and the scene. On September 13, 2021, I was able to get in touch with an blank and shared with him Daniel's story. I am currently blank and will update this report once that review is completed. Daniel's cell phone. On July 21, 2021, I was able to complete a full file system extraction from Daniel's phone. At the time of this report, the data is still under review, and this portion of the report will be updated as that is completed. My initial observations show that Daniel took 2 photos of work-related logs and equipment. On June 23, 2021, At about 7:10 a.m., the metadata in the images provided GPS coordinates showing they were taken at a well site near Verrado Road, south of Interstate 10 in Buckeye. It is believed Daniel stopped at this job site before then moving to the job site off of Sun Valley Parkway. I located the conversation between Daniel and Caitlyn in the trash folder and found it was consistent with the statement Caitlyn gave to police in Officer Haley's supplement. Daniel had been showing up at Caitlyn's residence unannounced, and after discussing the issue, Caitlyn politely asked Daniel to leave her alone. On June 22, 2021, just after 3 p.m., Daniel tells Caitlyn, "The world can get better, but I'll have to take all the time I can, or we can, whatever to name it. I'll either see you again or never see you again." I also observed text conversation between Daniel and his sister Davisha from June 22, 2021, where Daniel tells her he has an emergency, and then he does not respond to Davisha's repeated calls and text, which is consistent with Davisha's description of Daniel's behavior on June 22, 2021. Cell phone data is still under review, and this report will be updated when completed. Processing of Jeep for possible evidence. On June 22, 2021, Crime Scene Manager Prusik and Detective Sergeant Hanneman conducted further investigation of Daniel's 2017 Jeep Renegade. The vehicle was dusted for fingerprints and swabbed for DNA evidence. During the initial processing of the vehicle at the scene and this secondary processing for evidence, there were no notes or other items in the vehicle indicative of where Daniel might be. Follow up at blank. As previously mentioned, Daniel's bank record indicated that a charge posted to his bank account in the amount of $17.88 on June 24, 2021. The store was listed on blank. Is about 4.3 miles from Daniel's apartment and right off the freeway. Daniel's sister Davisha had previously stated to me that Daniel told her he went to the Waffle House on June 22, 2021. This was in the afternoon during the time when he had left his apartment after texting Davisha he had an emergency. Davisha explained to me that when Daniel returned to his apartment that evening around 7:30 p.m., he was wearing blue jeans and his navy blue blank World polo shirt. In my experience, the posted date is not always the date when the card was used, as it can sometimes take a couple of days to post to the account. The screenshot provided to me of the bank record did not show a specific time. On July 28, 2021, at about 3 in the afternoon, I went to the Waffle House and made contact with the manager Matthew Blank. Matthew allowed me in the back to review surveillance video. Matthew's system did not retain the transaction information for Daniel's purchase. Upon reviewing video, I observed Daniel arrived at the Waffle House on June 22, 2021, at about 6:02 p.m., wearing the clothes that Davisha had described. Daniel was alone and had arrived on foot. Daniel sat near the jukebox until about 6:27, when he was then seated in a booth by server Madison. Daniel was alone the entire time. After eating his food, Daniel went to the register and paid his bill. He then returned to his booth and packaged his food in a to-go box. At about 7:10, Daniel leaves the restaurant with his food and walks out of view of parking lot cameras on the sidewalk. I checked the morning hours of June 23, 2021, and up until noon on June 24th, 2021, and did not locate any more video with Daniel. I took photographs of the video screen, but was advised by the manager that I would need to contact their main security department in Georgia to obtain the actual video record. The number given to me was blank. Once the video is obtained, I will upload it to evidence.com. I have not received a copy of the video, but was able to upload screenshots to evidence.com. Interview with Madison. I then spoke with Madison. I explained to her who I was and that I was investigating a missing person. I showed her the flyer with Daniel's photograph and she recognized him. I then showed her the surveillance video and she remembered that day. I asked Madison to tell me what she remembered. Madison advised that she remembered Daniel was skittish, and when she tried to engage him in conversation, he did not talk to her. I asked her if he was skittish, like a nervous guy talking to a girl, or something else. Madison could not explain it, but said that he just seemed out of it and off. Madison also advised that she had seen him in the restaurant on previous occasions. While she didn't know him, she was able to say that his demeanor on 6/22/2021 was different. She did not have anything additional to add. Private Investigator Jeff Blank. I was advised that David Robinson was using a private investigator to assist with locating Daniel. On blank, PI Blank came to Buckeye Police Department. I had been advised that he wished to obtain a copy of the crash data, which we downloaded from the Jeep. Since I was not available, Detective Champion met with PI Blank. I received a phone call from Detective Champion, and he advised that PI Blank wanted to conduct their own forensic download of the vehicle and additional downloads which could possibly cause damage to the vehicle. I spoke with supervisors and Detective Champion to coordinate with Mr. Robinson and PI Blank to have the vehicle released to their custody, where they could continue their investigation outside of our evidence facility. The vehicle was later released to PI Blank and Mr. Robinson. See Detective Champion's supplement. Follow up with David. I spoke with Mr. Robinson briefly through text on August 3rd, 2021. I had previously given Mr. Robinson the report up to that date, but had not yet been able to provide him with a package of the scene photos. Chief Hall authorized the release of the scene photos, which we currently have stored in evidence.com. While speaking with Mr. Robinson, I asked again about the detailed records which may provide insight to Daniel's last known locations, both before and after leaving the job site. Mr. Robinson advised he would remind his daughter to send me that information. On August 4th, 2021, I placed the images and an updated copy of this report on a USB drive and advised Mr. Robinson it was ready for pickup. Contact with Davisha regarding bank records. On August 9th, 2021, at 8 a.m., I sent a text message to Davisha advising her that her father, Mr. Robinson, said she was working on getting bank records. I called and left her a voice message regarding the bank records. Later in the day, Davisha emailed me with blank and blank bank statements from Daniel's account. Upon reviewing the bank records, I noted a couple of transactions dated June 23rd, 2021 that required follow-up. In the blank statement, there was a charge on June 23rd for $3.83 at a blank station in Buckeye. There was also a charge to blank in the amount of $10.48, dated June 23rd, 2021. Blank service station charge. The bank statements did not identify which store or what time the transaction occurred, since Daniel was known to have been at a well site on Verrado Way shortly after 7 a.m. on June 23rd. I contacted Stephen Blank, the manager at the Shell located at blank. Stephen located video surveillance, which appeared to be Daniel pulling into pump number 4 and pumping $3.83 worth of fuel. The video quality was poor. Daniel pulled into the pump at 7 a.m. and left southbound onto Verrado Way at about 7:03 a.m. Attempt to obtain information from blank. I reached out to blank through their law enforcement portal regarding the charge that posted to Daniel's account on June 23, 2021. Blank would not provide information from that request, and I intend to make additional attempts to find out when that trip occurred. It is unknown if the blank trip was on June 23rd, but it may be possible that the trip occurred on June 22nd, 2021. In previous conversations with Davisha, she mentioned Daniel may have taken a blank back to his apartment after getting food at blank on June 22nd, 2021. Contact with Jeff. On August 12, 2021, I contacted private investigator Jeff Blank by telephone. I had not yet spoken with him. I introduced myself as the detective and advised that I was told he had information that would change this from a missing person to a criminal investigation. Jeff advised that during a search of the desert area near the roadway that leads back to Sun Valley Parkway from the job site, they located a sock which was sun-faded and had been in the desert for a period of time. Jeff advised that the sock matched the socks found by Daniel's car, and all of the socks matched those found in Daniel's apartment. Jeff told me that he is a vehicular crimes investigator, so homicide investigation is not his focus. He said that he reviewed the vehicle download and does not believe that the car could have been doing 28 miles per hour for up to 5 seconds before the crash. Jeff said that his basis for this opinion was that he attempted to get his off-road vehicle up to that speed and could not. Jeff was also aware of the path we believe Daniel had taken. He also noted that the start button was pushed several times after the crash event. Jeff mentions some red paint transfer and alleges that the vehicle had been in a previous accident and was subsequently dumped in the ravine. Jeff did not provide any additional information, but said that he would bring all of his data at an upcoming meeting. Jeff also mentioned his contact with a man named Roger from blank blank, a co-worker of Daniel. Jeff said that Roger had been present at one of the searches, and David Robinson advised Jeff that Roger had wanted to tell them something and appeared distraught by what he wanted to tell them. Jeff explained that when he talked to Roger, he told him he wanted to talk to him further. Jeff alleges that's when Roger had an oh shit look and turned pale. Jeff says that Roger avoided him for the remainder of their time at the search. Jeff said that Davisha told him that Roger might have been a roommate of Daniel's at some point. Initially, I recalled seeing Roger in this investigation, but realized that I saw him in Daniel's cell phone and he was not known or identified in this investigation. It should be noted that at no time did anyone from Daniel Robinson's family or group of friends mention anyone named Roger, or that they had concerns about his behavior or statements. On September 4th, 2021, I recontacted P.I. Blank by phone. Blank had previously told news reporters that Daniel's Jeep had traveled 11 miles after the crash event. He also made statements about the crash scene being staged and the damage being inconsistent with the scene where the Jeep was found. After having reviewed the crash reports downloaded from the vehicle, I could not locate an blank that indicated the vehicle had been driven 11 miles after the crash. Blank said that after they took possession of the vehicle, they powered it up and observed that the odometer display on the dash was 11 miles higher than the CDR report indicated the odometer was at the time of the crash. I talked to Blank about the scene and asked if the vehicle crashed on its side with the wheels off the ground, could the vehicle have still been running with wheels spinning, and could that account for a discrepancy? He said that was possible. I asked Jeff if the tow truck pulled the vehicle out of the ditch and down the dirt with its wheels on the ground, could it account for a discrepancy? He said that was also possible. I then talked to Jeff about his theory that the damage didn't match the scene. I explained to Jeff observations at the scene indicated I believe the vehicle went into the ravine, impacted hard at the bottom with forward and lateral momentum, causing the vehicle to tip up on the hood and windshield as it rolled over onto the side where it came to rest. Jeff advised that was a possibility and said that he only saw photos, which he used to develop his opinion. Roger Allen Blank. After the call with Jeff, I reviewed Blank. I located a contact stored as Roger. Roger has no criminal history. It appears that Roger and Daniel had been texting each other quite frequently for the couple of months prior to his disappearance. Based on the text messages, Roger was giving Daniel advice on building a gaming computer. He was also guiding him on what parts to buy, which may explain some of Daniel's recent spending habits. Daniel and Roger talked a lot about NBA basketball. On June 21st, 2021, Daniel asked Roger if he wanted to get breakfast, and he agreed. On June 23rd, 2021, Roger texted Daniel after Daniel had been reported missing from the site. Roger expressed concern for Daniel and said that if he needed to talk or wanted to go for a drive, he was there for him. Later in the evening, Roger texted Daniel saying he was at his apartment and was worried since no one had heard from him. I attempted to call Roger on August 12, 2021, but I had to leave him a voicemail. I told Roger who I was and that I was hoping to talk to him and left my callback information. Roger Blank interview. On August 19, 2021, I spoke with Roger by telephone. My conversation with Roger was audio recorded and will be uploaded to evidence.com. Roger explained that he met Daniel when he first moved to Phoenix and started at blank blank. Daniel explained that he had been staying at a hostel and was saving money to find a place. A few days later, Roger offered Daniel a room at his home with his girlfriend. Daniel accepted and moved in with his few belongings. Daniel stayed with Roger for about a month, and he said they became friends and carpooled to work. After Daniel moved into his own apartment, they would meet up for beers and watch basketball. Roger explained that Daniel is a field person and he wouldn't see him in the office too often where Roger worked. Roger talked about having Davisha and Daniel at his place for Thanksgiving and some furniture items he had given each of them to help them get by. I talked to Roger about the content of some of their text messages and asked if he was helping him build a computer. Roger said yes and explained that he intended to help Daniel in person, but Daniel spent a lot of money buying computer parts recently, and he gave him instructions for how to set it all up. Roger talked about the month of June and explained that he was dealing with the passing of his father. Roger was out of state roughly from June 16th to June 20th, tending to his father's situation. Roger was choked up at times talking about his father and the suddenness of his illness. Roger came into the office on June 21st, 2021, and sees Daniel at the office, which was unusual since he comes in so rarely. Roger said that Daniel looked very different and said that he had cut his hair off, which shocked him since Daniel wanted to grow his hair out. Roger said that when he talked to Daniel, his reaction to him was very dry. He asked Daniel if everything was okay, and he didn't have much to say, which was also unusual. Roger said, "Something's up with Daniel. Something's not right. I need to talk to him." Roger asked Daniel if he wanted to get breakfast, to which Daniel said no. Roger went back to his desk to work, and then Daniel texted him asking if he wanted to get breakfast, consistent with messages in Daniel's phone extraction. He said that he and Daniel take Roger's truck to get breakfast at Chick-fil-A. Roger said that he asked Daniel again if he was okay, but Daniel didn't tell him yet what was bothering him. When they got to Chick-fil-A, Roger asked Daniel what he wanted, and Daniel told him, "Whatever you're getting." Roger said that this was also odd because Daniel usually wanted the spicy chicken nuggets. After getting food, Roger asked Daniel if there was a problem with a girl. The answer evolved to there was a girl that he knew, but the girl didn't know he existed. Daniel continued to ask odd questions which didn't make a lot of sense to him. Roger received a call from his sister during their drive talking about their father's status. When the call was over, Daniel asked Roger if he believed in miracles. And then Daniel told him maybe he should start believing in miracles. Roger said that Daniel then mentioned something about God or religion. Roger said he was taken back by Daniel's questioning because Daniel had never really expressed any religious views to him. Daniel asked Roger if he trusts him, and when Roger said yes, Daniel challenged him about whether he trusted him, but Roger said, "Yeah, I trust you because we're friends." Daniel then said, "What if we weren't friends?" Daniel then said something to Roger about getting rid of his ego because his ego is bad. Roger told Daniel he saw him as confident but not egotistical. Daniel then said, "Well, I have to get rid of my story." Roger was confused by this since Daniel was proud of who he was and where he came from. The conversation ended and they went back to work. Roger said that when they were back at the office, he saw Daniel walk by wearing his Miami Heat hat, which Daniel loved. Daniel told him he should probably get rid of it, and Roger told him that was silly and to keep it. A short time later, Daniel left the office carrying a box and did not say bye to Roger. When Roger comes into the office on June 22nd, 2021, Daniel is there again, and Daniel asked Roger to go to breakfast. They left the office in Daniel's Jeep, and he described the dirt and tools in there that had to be moved to the back. Roger said that they drove around and Daniel acknowledged that there was a girl, but didn't give up much info. Daniel asked Roger, "What if there was a girl you liked, but you couldn't have?" Roger gave Daniel advice that if he wanted to ask a girl out, to go for it. Daniel then talked more about the ego and similar questions to the day before. Roger explained that Daniel didn't really give up what was bothering him. He said that it seemed like Daniel thought he had to completely change himself to be with whoever this girl was. When they went back into the office, Daniel stayed for about 15 minutes and left without talking to Roger anymore. Roger transitions to dealing with his father's passing and his struggles with that. On Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021, Roger overhears a comment in the office about Daniel having left the job site. Roger said sometimes field guys will leave to run to the store or go to the bathroom, and sometimes the sites are remote, so it could be an hour or more for them to return. Because of this, Roger wasn't concerned. A little after lunch, he was talking to a boss who explained that Daniel went to the first job site and then the second site and hasn't been seen since he left there. Roger asked if anyone had called Daniel and then offered to go by his apartment. Roger said he went to Daniel's apartment and saw his car wasn't there and the door was locked. Roger said he then told the boss that he knew where Davisha lived and he may be over there. Roger went to Davisha's house. Daniel was not there. And it seemed like Daniel had the same odd conversation with Davisha and Renee. Roger told the boss to get a hold of Daniel's emergency contact because Davisha didn't know where he was either. Roger left sometime later and checked Daniel's apartment again with no change. Roger said he also checked Daniel's apartment on the morning of the 24th and saw no change. I talked to Roger about Daniel's apartment. The way I observed the apartment seemed to be normal for Daniel. Roger was aware that Daniel smoked marijuana, but was not aware of any other drugs or medications. The completed audio recorded interview was uploaded to evidence.com. Investigation is ongoing and this report will be continuously updated. Crime Scene Investigation Narrative. A. Prusik, number 5286. On June 19, 2021, at approximately 10:27 a.m., I was contacted by Sergeant Hanneman, number 3731. He advised me that a rancher with property off of the west side of Sun Valley Parkway located a vehicle belonging to a missing person, 210-623-079. who was reported missing on June 23, 2021. He asked that I respond to photograph the vehicle, be available for processing should any be needed, and assist in searching for Daniel Robinson with other Buckeye Police Department employees. At approximately 11:30 a.m., I arrived to the ranch area, which had been set up as a meeting point. Detective Biffin, Detective Walliver, and Sergeant Hanneman were already on the scene. Upon the arrival of the other members of the Buckeye Police Department, we all drove into the desert and parked before taking an off-road vehicle to the location of the vehicle. At approximately 1:14 p.m., I arrived to the area where the vehicle was located. Detective Biffin provided me with the GPS coordinates of the vehicle for documentation. The weather was clear, sunny, and approximately 105 degrees Fahrenheit. The vehicle was found in a gap or wash area that was in between two hills. The vehicle was found on a downward slope in desert landscaping, consisting of rocks, shrubbery, and cactus. The vehicle came to rest on the passenger side. The front of the vehicle was pointing in the southwestern direction. The vehicle was a gray Jeep Renegade bearing Arizona license plate number blank. The vehicle sustained extensive damage, was missing part of the sunroof, had a shattered windshield, and a shattered out driver's door window. It appeared that all of the airbags within the vehicle were deployed. The headlights were set to auto, and the shifter to the vehicle was in drive. It appeared the seatbelt was being worn during the collision as it was unbuckled but locked in an outstretched position. Inside the vehicle was a set of keys, a cell phone, school identification card issued to Daniel Robinson, a backpack with a laptop, toe straps, a case of water, clothing, a hard hat which was upside down and contained water, and various other personal belongings. Scattered up the western side of the hill were 2 socks, 2 boots, jeans, shorts, shirt, and an orange reflective vest. In the pants was a wallet with Arizona driver's license, blank, belonging to Daniel Cornelius Robinson. Other items belonging to Daniel Robinson were also amongst the wallet contents. The clothing, backpack, cell phone, wallet, and keys were collected for safekeeping and stored in the evidence lab until family was able to collect the items. The surrounding areas of the vehicle were searched both on foot and with off-road vehicles. Daniel was not located at this time. I left the scene at approximately 6 p.m. Photographs taken were uploaded to evidence.com. This concluded my involvement in this matter. Crime Scene Investigator A. Prusik, number 5286. Vehicle Processing Narrative. A. Prusik, number 5286. On July 22, 2021, I responded to the tow yard located on the south side of the Property and Evidence Building. Using cleanup techniques, multiple areas within the vehicle were swabbed for touch DNA. The swabs collected were impounded at Property and Evidence. The following evidence was taken from the vehicle: 002 AP wet dry swab obtained from the inside handle of the driver's side door. 003 AP wet dry swab obtained from the steering wheel. 004 AP wet dry swab obtained from the gear shifter and push start button. 005 AP wet dry swab obtained from the rear view mirror of the vehicle. 006 AP wet dry swab obtained from the driver's seatbelt. Medline sterile swabs from lot number 905547895 were used for touch DNA collection. The swabs were slightly moistened with a distilled water ampule. Lot 86 K17. See uploaded vehicle processing sheet for additional information. This concluded my involvement in this matter. Crime Scene Investigator A. Prusik, number 5286. Miscellaneous Incident Report from Officer A. Price, number 4285, referencing missing person, suspicious vehicle. On Monday, July 19th, 10:30 a.m., I was contacted while off duty by Sergeant Halem, my direct supervisor. He advised that it was being requested that I respond out to fly my drone, as I am a Part 107 drone pilot. I was told the scene was in the desert west of Sun Valley Parkway in the area of mile marker 114. I responded out to the scene and made contact with Detective Walliver, who drove me out to where the vehicle was located. I then contacted Detective Biffin, who requested that I take aerial drone photos of the vehicle and surrounding area. I flew the drone at approximately 150 feet, then at a max altitude of 400 feet to show the surrounding area. The photos were uploaded to evidence.com. Once I finished the drone photos, I was asked to do a visual search of the area, using the drone to check for any sign of someone in the area, as the vehicle was unoccupied. I searched out to approximately 1,500 feet from my launch point, in all directions, checking any ravine I came across. I also attempted to check under larger trees, although the thickness of the foliage prevented me from being able to see under a good portion of the canopy. I flew the area for over an hour and a half until all of my batteries were depleted. I was unable to recharge them as we were in the desert away from any other vehicles. As I could see that the vehicle had rolled over to its final resting point, I explained to Detective Biffin that if needed, I could attempt to download the airbag control module to see if it recorded any crash data that would indicate a time or date of the collision. I told him that if he wanted it done, that if the vehicle was removed from its location, that the ignition should not be pressed or the vehicle turned on. I was contacted on July 21st, 2021 by Detective Biffin, who requested that I download the data from the vehicle. On July 21st, 2021, I responded to the Buckeye PD Department, an evidence-fenced lot where the vehicle was currently stored. I obtained the keys from the crime scene manager, Prusik. I attached jumper cables to the vehicle as the battery was dead. Once I had the Bosch CDR tool set up and showing as communicating, I pressed the ignition button while the key fob was in the vehicle without pressing the brake pedal, so the vehicle turned on power but did not attempt to start the engine. Once the vehicle power was on, I input the final information into the software and requested it download the airbag control module. Once it had successfully downloaded the information, I pressed the ignition button again, which shut the vehicle off. I then disconnected the CDR tool from the vehicle and saved the download to a blank thumb drive I provided in the format it automatically saves in and in the PDF format. I also printed out the PDF version to provide to Detective Biffin. Both the thumb drive and printout were turned over to Detective Biffin. It was also requested that I review the data downloaded from the vehicle. A review of the data did not show anything that would indicate a date and time of the crash incident. The report also indicated that the driver's seatbelt was buckled. The vehicle was not configured at the time of event to detect front passengers, but did indicate that the front passenger seatbelt was not buckled. Looking at the pre-crash data from what the report indicated was the most recent event, it showed that in the 5 seconds prior to the event, the vehicle was going at a maximum 33 miles per hour at 0.8 seconds prior to the crash. The data showed that for the 5 seconds pre-crash, the throttle fluctuated from at max 78% to as low as 22%. It showed that the brakes were never applied, and the last documented speed at 0.1 seconds pre-crash was 30 miles per hour. Please see attached data for complete report details. No further action. A. Price, 4285. Supplement. Contacts with blank. Author, Detective J. Champion, number 5280. On August 3rd, 2021, in the AM, Detective K. Rourke, number 3052, and I met with employees of the blank private investigations firm on behalf of Detective L. Biffin, number 4216, at blank Apache Road. I was directed to turn over a PDF printout of a crash data report. Chief Investigative Officer Jeff Blank and Director Bob Blank of Blank Investigations were with Blank, who advised he was helping coordinate the desert search for Blank and two other subcontracted engineers, and a female wearing a blank shirt were present. They were requesting the ability to download data from the vehicle's event data recorder. I had been told by Detective Biffin earlier that it would be okay if they wanted to do that. I was also told they wanted to remove the vehicle's infotainment system. Not being the case agent, who was on an unrelated call for service, I spoke briefly with Detective Biffin and spoke to Lieutenant Angel about them removing this item and the disposition of the vehicle. Detective Rourke escorted the group to the secure impound lot at the Buckeye Police Department's Property and Evidence Building. In the meantime, the disposition of the vehicle was discussed. It was determined that the vehicle was to be released to Daniel's father, and any examinations of the vehicle could be conducted by the private investigators after it was released. Arrangements were made for Daniel's father to come out to Buckeye to take possession or give permission to release the vehicle. I met with Jeff Blank and Roger Blank on the afternoon of August 4th, 2021. Mr. Blank identified himself with a South Carolina driver's license, signed the property release, and gave permission for a tow company. Mr. Blank advised the company he was contracting with would not be able to respond until the following day. Mr. Grath passed off my number to the company, and arrangements were made for a morning pickup. On August 4th, 2021, at approximately 9:55 a.m., Edward Blank arrived at the Buckeye Police Department's Property and Evidence Building and removed the vehicle. There were 5 digital audio recordings of the contacts with investigators and the next of kin on August 3rd, 2021. The first 3 with a digital audio recorder, and the 2 later were with the Axon capture application on my city-issued phone. All recordings were uploaded to evidence.com for preservation. This concluded my involvement at this time. Name involvements. Contacted Luke Joseph, Brooklyn, New York. Mentioned Roger Allen, Phoenix, Arizona. Contacted Blank from Tempe Police Department. Contacted Robert. No location listed. Contacted Roger, Columbia, South Carolina. Contacted Jeffrey. No location. Contacted Redacted. Contacted Redacted from Auburn Hills, Michigan. Contacted Davisha from Phoenix. Contacted Redacted. Contacted Edward Paul from Phoenix, Arizona. Contacted Tony Joseph from Buckeye, Arizona. Contacted someone from Phoenix Police Department. Contacted Paul from Buckeye, Arizona. Contacted Kenneth from Scottsdale, Arizona. Contacted Kevin from Chandler, Arizona. Contacted Blank from Phoenix, Arizona office. Involved in incident, Phoenix, Arizona office. Shell manager, Stephen, Buckeye, Arizona. Complainant, David Robinson. Contacted Caitlyn Ann from Laveen, Arizona. Interesting, to say the least. Now tell me what y'all have picked up on, because I know I pointed out a few things, but more eyes are better than 4, because context. So let me know, you guys, seriously, what are we missing? What did they skip? What this is as they would have us know. This is what they did and how they did. What do you see? His father needs his son. And this is the investigation. This is where it all starts. These were the first people on the scene. This completes the Buckeye Police Department Police Report Incident 210-623-079. Please help find Daniel.